Hey everyone, it's Brenda Stoller, your Mashable's tech reporter, and today we're going to take a look at the Pixel 5. So this is Google's latest flagship phone, and in addition to unboxing it and showing you guys what it looks like, we're also going to walk through a few of the new features and changes from its predecessor, the Pixel 4. So let's get into it. Okay, so we are going to finally unbox this. As you can see, I got the sorta sage color. Here we go. So you have your standard manual, your SIM card ejector, SIM card tray ejector, and then you have all of your instructions. So that's fun. And then we have the power adapter. Type-C power adapter to a Type-C. So got your power cord, and then you have your quick switch adapter for porting over all of your stuff from your old phone to your new phone. This is everything that comes in the box. You got your phone, you got your power adapter, you got your power cord, you got your other adapter, and then you have your manuals. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into this phone. So this is very tiny compared to the flagships that I have been reviewing. So this feels weird. Okay, let's take off the, ooh, that is soothing. Okay, I hope that was satisfying for you all. This is nice. I think it's really pretty, actually. It does have a full aluminum body, and then it has the fingerprint sensor on the back, and then you have your dual cameras, which we will get into, but I really do like this color, and it's definitely not something I would want to cover up or put a case on. Let's turn this bad boy on. While this is loading, let's talk about buttons and ports. So you have your Type-C port down here, you have your speakers, power button, and your volume rocker. And then on the front you have a 6-inch display, which is a little bit bigger than the Pixel 4, which I believe was a 5.7-inch display, so it is a little bit bigger. All right, so we're gonna do light theme for right now. So you have your gestures. Let me go back so you can swipe up from the bottom of the screen. Hold to switch apps. Swipe towards the middle or the right. So these are all your standard gestures. Trigger Google Assistant, and we're all set. Okay, so like I said before, there is a 6.1-inch OLED display on the Pixel 5 that is bigger than the 5.7 inches that you got on the Pixel 4. The 90 Hertz refresh rate is now automatically on by default. Google didn't go with the 120 Hertz refresh rate that we are now seeing on basically every flagship phone. Regardless, at least it is a step up from 60 Hertz, so you'll have that smooth scrolling experience on social media, and you know, hopefully gaming won't be impacted too much, especially because you get that 5G connectivity, but that remains to be seen. Let's get into the cameras, because I am particularly excited about the new features that they added with Night Sight. So with Night Sight, you now get a portrait mode. So that means that you can take portrait mode photos in low light, which I'm going to definitely test out once I take this out for a little spin to test all of the cameras. So on the front, as far as camera specs go, we have an 8 megapixel hole punch selfie camera right here on the front, which you can sort of see me on. And then on the back, Google has finally added an ultra wide angle lens. In my opinion, ultra wide angle lenses are a lot more useful, a lot more fun. It gives you way more room to obviously capture a shot, but then, you know, you also just have more control over. As far as sensors go, you have a 12 megapixel main sensor and then a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle lens. So again, I'm super excited to try that out. It remains to be seen as far as the results, but those are your cameras. And then let's go back into those camera features that I was talking about. So in addition to portrait mode in night sight, you're also going to have a feature called Portrait Light, which illuminates your subjects while taking portrait photos. So, that'll help in not necessarily low light, but just, even daylight photos. So it'll basically give your subject some more enhancement. Make them brighter, make them look nicer, which is always nice to have, especially if you're out and about and you don't have a bunch of camera equipment with you, or you don't want to constantly say, let's move over here where the lighting is better, or let's move over there. Just having that built-in functionality to brighten everything up is always nice. And then when you are taking video, there's also a cinematic pan feature that will just make your footage when you're recording look way smoother. It's obviously called cinematic pan for a reason. It'll give you more of that aesthetically pleasing video footage when you are moving the camera. It'll make it look a lot more stabilized. And then the Pixel 5 also comes with a feature called HDR with bracketing. And essentially what that will do is it will help brighten your shots. So I'm really excited to try all of these different camera features out because, to be quite honest, the Pixel has always been my favorite for photos. So I'm definitely super excited to test these cameras out, especially now that it has the ultra wide angle. Moving on to some other features that are worth mentioning, some other specs that are worth mentioning, is the battery on this thing. So I know that, you've probably read and seen that a lot of people have complained about the Pixel 4 battery because for them it's just been awful. So the Pixel 5 has a 4080 milliamp hour battery, which is way bigger than the 2800 milliamp hour battery on the Pixel 4. So you're almost getting double the battery life on this, which obviously remains to be seen as far as how long it will last me through the day. Gonna have to just, I'll use it normally. I'll take photos, I'll take videos, use all of my standard apps, and definitely report back on whether or not the battery life has improved. I mean, obviously with a bigger battery, it's gonna improve, but we'll see just how long it's able to last. I'm very curious about that. Also, another thing that's important to note is that this does support wireless charging, even with the aluminum body. What Google had to do to make this happen, though, is sort of interesting. Basically, underneath this phone is a physical cutout in the aluminum where the coils sit. And what they did is they placed a plastic bioresin on top of that in order to successfully be able to achieve that wireless charging so that it'll be able to recognize. So the wireless charger will be able to recognize the coils, and voila, you get your wireless charging. I'm specifically excited to see the teardown of this because I really want to know what that looks like. Google hasn't mentioned anything based on durability, but it does kind of make me question if that has any sort of impact on durability to have that construction. And if you're wondering why Google went through such great depths to provide this wireless charging, like having to literally cut out parts wow, my voice is cracking. Like having to literally cut out parts of the phone, it's because sticking to this full aluminum body rather than, say, glass is what allowed them to achieve this thinness. It's kind of hard to see right now, but yes, this thing is super thin, which is nice. So Google has done away with the Soli radar chip in this phone completely, and it's significant and insignificant for a couple of reasons. So the Soli radar chip was responsible for allowing those air gestures that Google implemented. So for example, with the Pixel 4, you were able to do things like swipe your hand over the display to silence an alarm or silence a phone call. You could also tap the phone a specific way for your music controls. And so obviously with that, obviously without that, we don't get these air gestures, which is fine because I don't think they caught on very well anyway. And then it's also responsible for facial recognition. So that also means you don't get that either. And let's set it up right now. So there is the rear fingerprint sensor on the back instead. So I'm personally a lot more okay with the fingerprint sensor because, I mean, for me, the facial recognition can be a little bit frustrating as far as lighting goes, or as far as whether or not I'm wearing my glasses. With this, with a physical fingerprint or rear fingerprint sensor, I'm not talking about the in-display one, it's just a more natural progression. So I literally pick up my phone and my finger's already resting there, and that's it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to constantly angle the camera a specific way or type in your PIN or anything. It's a natural progression that just works. And I know it's a bit outdated, feels a little outdated, especially in comparison to what flagships have now, but I'll take it. With the fingerprint sensor, you can also swipe to check your notifications. So once you swipe down on the sensor on the back of your phone, it brings you to your notice. You can still use the physical buttons as far as gestures go. So you can tap to check your phone, obviously. Lift to check it as well. And then this is actually, I really like this one a lot. If someone's calling you and you just want to place your phone on Do Not Disturb, then you just flip it over, which I tend to do that a lot anyway. So you aren't completely out of gestures. Obviously, they still kept in a few. But as far as the air gestures go, those are gone. So Google is instead utilizing the hardware for those quick shortcuts. Another new feature that Google implemented is called Hold for Me. Basically, when you call and you're placed on hold, you don't have to sit there and literally wait for an operator or for somebody to come back and pick up the phone. The phone will instead alert you when someone's back on the line. That way you don't have to leave it on speaker next to you. That's what I do sometimes. Or, there are those systems that say, please leave your phone number. The wait is long and we'll call you back. I tend to forget that I ever even left my number to begin with. And so I'll get a call from a random phone number that looks like spam and end up completely missing out on my spot and having to start over again. So I'm certainly excited to try that feature as well. Other features to mention are Google Duo now has a screen share feature. So now you can simultaneously stream the same content at the same time. These are basically the differences between the Pixel 4 and the new Pixel 5. Obviously, you also get that 5G connectivity as well. In terms of what we just went over though, your main differences are going to be the larger display, the ultra wide angle sensor, the full aluminum body. You're missing the Soli radar chip, so you just get that rear fingerprint sensor, and then the bigger battery and a few new camera features that I'm definitely excited to test out. As far as other specs go, the Pixel 5 does have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset, which obviously allows for that 5G connectivity, and that's a mid-range chip, so it is a downgrade from the Pixel 5, which had a Snapdragon 855. So that is another thing to note, is that you are getting a mid-range chipset, although remains to be seen just how much this is impacted by that in terms of performance. So I will report back on that one. That is it. That is the Pixel 5 in all of its glory. You got the camera, you got the nice sage color, the fingerprint sensor, all of your ports. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to use this as my primary, because again, I'm a huge fan of photo quality with the Pixel, so And then as far as pricing and availability goes, this will be available on October 29th, starting at $699. We have officially unboxed the Pixel 5. I'm definitely going to be using this as my primary phone to test out all of the features. Going to compare it with some other flagship phones to check out that camera quality. I'm going to be using all my standard apps on a daily basis to push that battery life and that performance. So I will definitely have so many more thoughts on this phone within the coming weeks. So be sure to continue to check back for a full review of the Google Pixel 5 over at Mashable.